Survivors floated for nearly 5 days in the South Pacific battling sharks before being rescued. Their story was recalled in the movie Jaws.
You were on the Indianapolis?
What happened? Japanese submarine slammed 2 torpedoes into our side, Chief. 1,100 men went into the water. Vessel went down in 12 minutes. Didn't see the first shark for about half an hour.
Doug Stanton is author of a new best-selling book about the Indy and its survivors called In Harm's Way. Giles McCoy is one of the survivors. Gentlemen, good to see you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug, let me start with you. You first heard about these guys because you read that a reunion was going to take place back in 1999, and you decided to go down there. It'd be a good magazine piece. I know you were surprised that you were the only reporter at that reunion.
I was, and I just walked around and began asking, you know, I thought maybe I'd write about Giles today, looking backwards, but quickly talking to him and hearing these stories, you can't help but be totally drawn in. This is the most harrowing thing that I had ever heard. These guys are walking around, you know, they reminded me of my grandfather and my uncle, and yet the thing that they had survived was completely heroic, but they're totally humble about it. And by every interview ended with tears, and pretty soon I was choked up too.
The Indianapolis had gone to deliver a key component of the atomic bomb to an island in the South Pacific. It was so secret, Giles, that no one knew where you guys were going, and on the way back you were unescorted because no one could know where you'd been. You were 19.
Yeah, well, we weren't on our way back. We'd already dropped the bomb off at Tinian, and it was later put on the Enola Gay and dropped on Hiroshima. We were going over to Leyte to join a task force to get ready for the invasion of Japan proper. And we were getting ready to get right into the main part of the war.
You remember, obviously and vividly, when that torpedo slammed into the Indianapolis. I know that you were thrown across the room.
Yes.
You ended up in the water like so many others.
Yes.
You were concerned, what went through your mind immediately was get away from this ship because you could get sucked down with it.
Well, and we were always taught that on board any ship that is sinking, you want to try to get away from the high side, because if you get on the low side, it'll suck you down. And so as soon as I hit the water, I walked down the side of the ship and slid down the keel and into the water and started swimming hard. And when I looked back, why, the ship was going down bow first, and men were still jumping off the fantail and hitting the screws. And so I swam real hard until it finally pulled me down.
You were lucky enough to get into a life raft.
Yes, most of the guys I first joined up with, some of the men that I first got with didn't even have life jackets. And so one of them, we had to wait till we got a dead body to take a life jacket off of him and put it on him.
Almost 200 guys over the course of those 4.5 days were taken by sharks.
At least that many. Some groups had lots more. Dr. Haynes, our senior medical officer, his group, they had right at 400 men, and only 93 of them made it.
You at some times were kicking sharks. I mean, you would see them circle, and then when you'd see the dorsal fin go underwater, you knew they were coming for somebody.
This was shark attack, and it was coming. And they would come up underneath you, and they have to turn sideways to bite you. And like I've told Doug and other people, they have a membrane that comes over their eyeballs, and they have to turn sideways to strike you. And if you can strike them in the eye, that really hurts them.
Reading your account of this, and through Doug, I was thinking that's got to be the worst thing anyone can go through. But you say that the worst part of those 4.5 days, not the sharks, it was the thirst.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, the first couple of days, I was a chow hound back in my younger days, and first couple of days of hunger was in there, but then that left you. But the thirst never did, and the thirst just drove you out of your mind, and drove a lot of the men out of their mind. And some of the things that I always say in my lifetime to other people, don't judge people that go through crises like this, because everybody has a breaking point. And so you don't know when your breaking point's coming.
Yeah, I know you said it sometimes it would have been easier to die than survive.
Really, and a lot of the guys felt that. And a lot of guys drowned themselves because it was easier than to continue on and try to make yourself survive the ordeal.
What do you want people to know about these guys, not only the ones who survived, but the ones who didn't survive?
Just what Gil just said. I mean, what he just, that's the heart of this story. It's, you know, who am I and what will I do to live? And he thought he was bulletproof before he was sunk. As of 56 years ago today, he's been in the water 7 hours as of right now or so, and he learned that he was not bulletproof, and that he was going to live. He was going to die, but live as long as he could. And,
That's right.
And that wisdom is what he hauled out of the water. And
The captain of the Indianapolis.
That's another story.
Well, he was court-martialed.
Yes, and if I could inject something real quick, and I know we have so much time here, but just recently, the Secretary of the Navy, England, had the courage to go on and buck the Navy admirals and get our skipper exonerated. And our skipper was unjustly court-martialed. And I want to try to let the American people know why we fought all these years to get him exonerated, because he was not guilty of anything. They charged him with hazarding his ship by failing to zigzag, but yet and all they gave him a directive that gave him the privilege of not zigzagging at his own discretion. But they court-martialed him for it.
As you mentioned, he was exonerated recently, but he committed suicide because he couldn't handle the burden in
Absolutely.
1968.
Everybody accused him of it. All the people, if I would have been lost, possibly my mother would have accused him. And so the people that lost loved ones on the Indianapolis, they accused him of this. And he was not guilty of anything.
What do you want people to know about your colleagues and your comrades?
Well, first of all, what a wonderful guys they are. And I get emotional when I talk about them. There's nobody out there like our bunch. There's nobody. We're buddies, and we will be buddies until we all die. And that's why we all fought for Captain McVeigh, because he was one of us, and his honor was at stake. He was a combat veteran, and any combat veteran, whether he's in Europe or Pacific, they know what I'm talking about. And there's an honor to get out there and serve your country. And when you do the very best job you can, but you become comrades. Everybody is our buddies.
Well, Giles McCoy. Mr. McCoy, thank you. It's an honor to meet you.
You're most welcome.
Doug Stanton, nice to have you here as well. 7:53, we're back right after this.
You're welcome.